Hey YouTube, welcome back to another video. It is the day after Christmas, December 26th. So I've been over here for like an hour. I pulled the front bumper off. I went over to the other storage and I got the radiator and fans and the AC condenser. And a little plastic piece that comes down like this into the front bumper. I'm going to have to remove that. But so what I had to do was I had to pull the front bumper off, and then that little plastic piece goes under the radiator. It bolts on right here with two 10 millimeters and on this side with two 10 millimeters. So I got those 10 millimeters out and got that piece off. That's because I want to try to test fit this radiator up in here. So I had to remove the transmission cooler lines. The top one came out, the bottom one was seized in there. I sprayed it with WD-40, couldn't get it out, so I just cut it off. And yeah, and then I've got to remove this plastic piece here. It bolts on with a tin there and a tin there, and this will come off. And so I gotta get that test fitted in the car. And then I have another piece. This one got kind of warped, so I have another one right here that will be good to hold that radiator up in there, and it's nice and straight. And then once I get that all bolted in here, then I'll know where my clearance is to get this mounted in here. And then I'll know exactly where everything's going to go. Then once I get this mounted, like temporarily, then I'll be able to put the front bumper back on, make sure it clears everything, and make sure we're not going to have any issues with the placement on that. If I need to move it up some or down some or whatever. But before I can test fit that, I got to get the radiator in. So what I had to do was, since my brake line was still out here, I had to take those 2x4s and I stuck one between the subframe and the transmission, and then another one up front right in here and put it under the starter. And that way I was able to put my foot on it and pry the engine up a little bit to relieve the pressure, so I could get the two bell housing bolts out and get the mount bolt out. And so I got all that done, was able to get the brake line put back over in place. And then I had to come over here and I had to pull the engine mount bracket off right there, so I can get the line to go back in there like so. But my power steering lines were in the way, so I've been working on power steering lines. I had to cut down the return line. I cut all that piece out of it, and it had this metal insert on the inside, so I just pulled all that out and was able to get it on the power steering pump. That's the return. This is the high pressure side. So now I'm just trying to get that ran so I can get it tucked up there and get it screwed into that fitting. And then the power steering will be done. Then once that's done and out of the way, I can pop this brake line over in there how it needs to be. Something like that. And you can see the little holder right there on the subframe for that brake line. That will hold that. And then I've got to get, like, that's just temporary mount bracket. It's just kind of holding the weight. I'm still waiting on the mount and everything from Gage. I still haven't even got to pay him yet. So probably not going to be running by New Year's. It really kind of sucks, but that's just what happens sometimes. Plans don't always, or bills don't always go to plan. Sometimes you gotta do stuff and then redo it and then redo it and redo it again. It's just part of doing custom stuff. But I'm still making a lot of progress. Still waiting for that mount, the harness, and the downpipe. So Gage said he was trying to find a box big enough to ship the downpipe, and he still hasn't given me his PayPal info to pay him. And my only other option was to mail him the cash, because I have his home address. But with it being the holidays, I really wasn't comfortable sending, you know, almost $700 in cash through the mail to another state, especially with all the mail thefts and package thefts and everything. So yeah, I just didn't feel comfortable with that, so I didn't. And so yeah, so I just still don't have the parts yet, so I'm still waiting on everything. But like I said, that's just part of it sometimes. Another thing is I still have to make sure that my AC line is going to bolt onto the AC compressor. I'm pretty sure it is, that it will, but still, I haven't tested it yet, so that's just another thing I've got to do. And then I've still got to finish running all the wires to everything. I've still got to plug in the ABS pump down here. And then I've just got all these wires. This goes over to this driver's side wheel speed sensor. And then back over here behind it, there's just a whole mess of wires right here. And see, I'm not going to use those. Those are for the automatic transmission. That's the O2 sensor. And then this is the wheel speed sensor for the passenger side, and it runs back here by the rack and pinion across the subframe. And so yeah, I just gotta get all these wires sorted out and get everything all plugged in and go from there. I'm not for sure what that is, but I'll figure it out. But yeah, I mean, so far everything's going pretty good. I do have to find a shorter bolt for this ground right here on the transmission, because that's still super loose. It's like 1/2 inch too long a thread, so I can either cut that bolt down or just find a shorter bolt, and that should be okay. And then I was also kind of thinking that maybe the shifter linkage cables are on backwards, because it's not shifting through the gears. Also, the clutch isn't, you know, hooked up or anything yet, so that could be something. I still got to get that push rod mounted all the way in there. It's still up here. That thing's a pain in the ass. But once I get that clicked in place, I can get all the rest of that put together and get all the rest of this put back together. And I just might have to pull that center console back out of the interior to get to those shifter cables. Also, there is a cable that's part of it that goes up here to the back side of the ignition. Yeah, you can't really see it, but it's like a square plug, and you have to turn the key on, plug it in, and then it'll let you turn the key off. And on automatics, that is to make sure that it is all the way in park. But if you look at this gear shift, it's like there's so much play in it, and it's so loose. And look, it doesn't want to go into any gears at all. And the key won't turn all the way off now since I plugged that in. So yeah, still has some issues. It could also just be this bracket, because I'm pretty sure this was the original bracket off of out of the parts car, off the other 5-speed transmission that these cables came with. So it could be just that I need to swap that bracket around. I'm not for sure. Be really a pain in the ass now, but it is what it is. But I will get that figured out. It's just one step at a time right now. But yeah, just want to show you all that I am making some progress. I am still working on it. And yeah, and then so on Christmas Eve, the other night, I went over to my dad and my stepmom's house for Christmas dinner, and I got pulled over. Cop said I was doing 51 and a 35, which my speedometer said 40, but it is what it is. But come to find out, my license is suspended. So now I had to take the day off of work tomorrow, so I can have someone give me a ride up to the courthouse to try to figure out why my license is suspended, to see if I owe any tickets. And so yeah, so all the money that I have to give to Gage, I'm probably going to have to spend like half of it, if not all of it, paying a ticket or whatever is the deal, and getting my license reinstated. So really sucks. But like I said again, that's my luck, man. So I'm still waiting for the money for the side job on re-roofing that house. We still have to throw all the shingles on there. So it has no shingles on it through all this snow. But it's got all new plywood and ice and water shield, and the plastic shit that they put down. I don't even know what it's called. I don't do residential. I'm commercial. But, yeah, so we still got to do all the shingles, and then once all the shingles are done, then we get paid for that job. But I'm expecting $500 to $600 for that, so hopefully we can get that done. It's supposed to warm up this week, so I guess we'll see. But yeah, my main thing right now is I've got to get my license taken care of and get my license reinstated, because right now the 07 is the only car I have, and I'm really not trying to get pulled over again and get the car impounded and get arrested. And yeah, I'm not doing it. So I've taken the day off tomorrow, so I'm gonna get some stuff figured out on that. But I went ahead and I sat at home all weekend. It was pretty boring. I didn't go anywhere yesterday. I didn't go anywhere all day today until I just got here like an hour ago. And it's like 6. And I spent like 4 or 5 hours waiting for this guy to come buy my subs and amp for $400 so I could have the money to get my license reinstated. And he never showed up. He still hasn't messaged me back. I even recorded like a 2-minute long video of the subs playing and everything and sent it to him. And he's seen it, but he never said anything. So it is what it is. It's like I said, I didn't want to get rid of the system anyways, but I really need the money. But yeah, that's going to be the update. I'm going to keep working on this for a little while, at least for like another hour or so, and try to make some more progress. I want to try to get this power steering line up in there and get everything hooked up and tight. And I want to try to get all my wires ran that I can. And I still got to get a Grand Am oil pressure sensor. It threads right in to the Grand Prix oil pressure, like on the oil filter neck. And it threads right in there. And I had one, but Tommy needed it for his car, and I gave it to Tommy, and I never got another one. So I don't have the correct one. I only have a Grand Prix one. And then this is my spare one. It's also a Grand Prix one. It has 2 prongs. The Grand Am plug only has 1 prong. So I'm going to have to get a Grand Am oil pressure sensor. And I'll get that threaded in there. So I'll probably just buy a brand new one from AutoZone. And that will be brand new. And then my plug will plug in. And then I'm going to use that newer plug. And the actual plug is up here on the front. So I'm going to have to snip this. And then extend this wire, either run it under the oil pan to the back side of the engine and plug it in over here by the oil filter. And then there's another sensor. It's like the oil level is on the back side on the Grand Am, and it's on the front of the oil pan on the 38. So I've got to extend another wire from back there up here to the front. And then since this sensor, that brand new sensor was leaking, they actually did send me another brand new one. It took them like 3 weeks, but I did finally get it. It's in here. Oh, maybe it's in the trunk. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, so I got another brand new sensor for that. So I can get that installed. But I'm going to have to get the jack over here and jack this up and get this card out from underneath it before I can do any of that, because I have to drain the oil. And right now it's pretty much sitting on the oil pan and the subframe on this cart. So I mean, you could, yeah, I couldn't even take those bolts out because it's sitting on the bolts for this front mount. So yeah, it's kind of a pain in the ass, but I'm still getting some stuff done. I gotta bolt this little ABS pump bracket back to the subframe. It's just like 2 or 3 15 millimeters, and that will be remounted. But yeah, other than that, it's just extending a bunch of wires. And then whenever Gage sends me that that new harness, it will plug right into this. This is the crank sensor plug, and then the cam sensor plug plugs in on, I want to say it's this plug here, but yeah, no, the harness I'm getting from Gage, it'll plug right into this, and plug into this, and plug into that, and plug into a few other things. and all the injectors, and then that's going to be the whole harness. So then once I get that harness in and get everything plugged in, it should crank with the key. Right now, it won't do anything with the key, but it doesn't have a crank sensor, it doesn't have a cam sensor, it doesn't have oil pressure or oil level, it doesn't have anything, no coolant temp. So it won't crank at all with the key. But if I hook up the battery and jump the starter, it has power, it'll crank. And it sounds great. I might have to get the tripod back there and crank this thing over just so y'all can hear it. Sounds pretty good to me. But yeah, that's that. So I guess that's going to be my update for today. Sorry, it was just a lot of me talking and rambling on, but yeah, that's going to be my update for today. So y'all like, comment, subscribe, stay tuned for more content, and I'll catch you guys later.